What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside the Game, your one-stop shop for everything cool in video games. You want to be a part of the show? Then head to InsideTheGame.ca, where there you can submit your clip and off our show. Now, the coronavirus is still kicking around, but we have another jam-packed episode. Nate and I are talking about Nioh 2. Speaking about getting our butts kicked, we're also talking about Doom Eternal. Nate has been waiting for this one for a very long time. We also have VR and card games. Man, we got a jam-packed episode, so let's get started with the Inside Scoop.
All right, Torchlight fans, if you've been lucky enough to get in on the closed alpha for Torchlight 3, you'll know that there's actually a new hero class being dropped, the Sharpshooter. Let's check it out. This new class combines careful precision skills with the ranged weapons and magical trinkets to strike down enemies from afar. The Sharpshooter is cunning and willing to bend the rules in order to survive the hordes of creatures running rampant in each of the game's diverse biomes. The Sharpshooter joins previously announced hero classes including the Magical Dust Mage, Mechanized Forge, and Locomotive Conducting Railmaster.
For all the racers out there, the Nintendo Switch is picking up a new, yet old, Racer Destructive Simulator with Burnout Paradise Simulator. Packed full of all the DLC from the original game, and then also introducing new locations, vehicles, and challenges for us to discover. Bringing us back to Paradise City has never been better, with supported 60 frames per second and the ability to play on the go. This is awesome, can't wait to play it.
A much-awaited update for the Elite Dangerous universe is the addition of Fleet Carriers. Now, this is a big deal for anybody who's played this game for a long time. It is going to take a long time to grind to the $5 billion price tag that these ships will have. Although, you'll be able to dock all of your friends, take on missions, have a marketplace, and get into all the other overworld stats by accessing this Fleet Carrier. It's a big deal, and we're hoping to learn a whole lot more on April 2nd when they do a live stream at Frontier Development. So let's stay tuned and see what we can learn then.
All right, you guys know we checked out Vigor originally on the Xbox One, and we had a ton of fun playing it. Well, guess what? So have a ton of other people. So Bohemia Interactive wants to expand that player base, and they're bringing it to the Nintendo Switch. I think this is the perfect console and the perfect port for this game. They haven't talked about any cross-platform play as of yet, but let me tell you, I think if they really were to open it up that much and then bring it to PlayStation 4 or 5, I think this game's, the sky's the limit. Vigor's been amazing, and I think we just need to see where this goes.
So it sounds like Iceberg Interactive is double dutching down with their newest partnership with Split Polygon. Split Polygon has been working on the very ambitious game Interstellar Rift. If you don't know much about this game, it has been on Steam and Game Preview for quite some time and has built a very strong community. You're building a ship with a very customizable user tool, fighting aliens and joining factions with your friends all across space. That's what this game's all about. So Iceberg Interactive sees the potential and vision that Split Polygon has created and wants to see it through. With hopes for a full game release this fall, we'll keep you updated with any new info.
The Crew 2 is the very ambitious title that tries to simulate some of Middle America's driving and kind of racing fantasies. Now, their 5th free content update is coming live soon, and in addition to this, they are releasing the game on Google Stadia. One of the really cool features about the Google Stadia is that you're going to have the ability to stream your friend's screen onto yours, meaning you'll just be able to watch them while you play on the same screen. There's a whole lot more features listed in this one, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this title fares on Google Stadia, and how Google Stadia fares with this new title.
Epic Games is shaking things up again, most notably known for Fortnite and the Battle Royale scene, and then they brought in Epic Games Store. Well, now they're getting into the world of publishing, bringing on Gen Design, the team behind The Last Guardian, Playdead, you know them from Inside and Limbo, and then Remedy Entertainment, the team behind Control. They're on a roll for sure as they expand once more into the world of publishing. With their new approach, they decided to go with a full creative freedom for ownership. Developers retain 100% of the intellectual property and full creative control of their work. Fully funded projects, Epic Games Publishing will cover up to 100% of the development costs, from developer salaries to market expenses such as Q&A, localizations, and they're going to share a 50-50 profit sharing. Developers will earn a fair share of their work once costs are recouped. Developers earn up to at least 50% of their profits. Tim Sweeney, founder and CEO of Epic Games, said, "We're building the publishing model we always wanted for ourselves when we worked with publishers."
All right, Nate, with all the craziness that's going on in the world right now, I think it's absolutely nuts. I think it's time to find a new planet.
Designed for the military. The Arachnid-class tank has an operating weight of 22 tons, steel and uranium armor plates, infrared radiometer optics, autonomous navigation system, and is powered by a thorium fuel cell. They exhibit true AI behavior. They can learn, adapt, and evolve. Expect to engage thousands of ground targets testing your perimeter, looking for weaknesses in your defenses. You must consider military battlefield tactics when setting up your sentry weapons. Consider overlapping fields of fire, line of sight, flanking positions, sentry formations. Use the terrain to your advantage. You must create a robot killing field if you are going to survive.
All right, Nate, we're back with some artificial extinction, first-person sentry tower defense type game. I've never played a game exactly like this. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. So basically, humans have built AI and they became too smart for their own good and kind of screwed us. So
yeah, classic story.
Classic story. So humanity... Yeah. The whole thing is a guy, is going out to some planet to try to find and inhabit. And then within basically 9 days, you bring back your family.
Yeah, they're on the way there. So you've got 9 days to basically set up, an encampment, a place for your family to live that's safe. Because this planet that we're landing on is anything but safe. There are robots that are everywhere, and they start attacking basically as soon as you boots hit the ground on this one.
So your little Oracle buddy, he does do lots of things. He actually repairs all the turrets, because this entire time you are getting waves of these robots sent at you, and you can't repair everything by yourself. You do have the ability to do that, thank goodness. But your little robot buddy, he's there to heal you and your turret.
Yeah, and you know what? He isn't the only thing you got helping you out there. You do have a weapon, and it's a sniper rifle type weapon. And the reason I say it like that is because honestly, there's no feel to this gun in this game. Like it basically launches explosive rounds, and when it hits the target, it makes a rather large explosion. But when I press my mouse button to fire that weapon, there's just no weight to the gun, and I just kind of felt like for the damage I'm doing, I just don't feel like I'm getting any kind of reverb back as the player. Especially in a first-person shooter, you kind of feel like the gun aspect would be maybe something that that would shine, especially since it's one of the few things you can actually use in the game.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like you do unlock a couple more weapons, but like you said, when you feel or want to shoot a heavy sniper, you want to feel it, right?
Yeah.
You really want that feel. But I don't know. The game itself, the graphics are mediocre. It has some nice aspects. Like I find the environment, when you're looking out for the distance, it looks pretty decent.
Yeah. From a distance, the environment, the landscape, it's beautiful, actually. I mean, for what it is, for being kind of a desolate planet. I was impressed because, you know, you get that inside your cockpit look when you're first flying in and when you're in between levels, and there's a little bit of detail there. It's nothing major, but again, it's all more than passable, I think, for what this game is and what you're getting. I thought the mechs and all the enemies in this game were pretty good as far as the detail in them, and you could see them from pretty far away, and I thought they were probably the hardest thing to deal with in this game.
Yeah, I agree. And there's not a ton of variety in the monsters, or the robots.
Yeah.
As you progress, they kind of shove a couple more at you, but mostly just different colored versions or just a slightly different variant of the drone. So, you know, there's not a lot of depth in that. But man, this game is chaotic. If you start off, you're probably
chaos is the right word for sure.
They just out of nowhere, they'll just be like, "Oh, your robot's like, oh, you got." Incoming from east is you know, anti-air units or whatever.
Yep.
So it's just it gets really crazy.
Yeah, and the way they kind of set it up is that when you land, the first thing you have to do is find fuel for your ship, because during the entire time of the level, your ship is hovering above you, and you need to keep constantly fueling the ship and get enough fuel to then go on to the next place that you're also going to check out. So there's 3 major resources in this game that you have to collect. One of them being fuel, then there's energy for that it basically requires to build and use your sentries and turrets, and then there is metal, which helps you, steel, which is building, and you can craft ammo and all those kinds of things. So those are your 3 majors, and you have to put down basically like extractors that, as they sit, you have to protect those, and that's essentially what the robots are coming to destroy. Is they want you to destroy what you're collecting plus yourself. So the idea is to set up your turrets in a way that you can defend all that, but at the same time, depending on how you set up your turrets, really depends on how the robots and the enemy AI is actually going to attack you. They will change their attack plan in the middle of the battle, so you're always moving and running around. And that's kind of where, like you said, the chaos really comes into play here. And then, you know, even just outside of the first level, you start getting into the air units. So now you've got ground units and air units. It was a lot to take in at first, and let me tell you, I got swarmed a couple times right off the hop, and I found it kind of difficult at first to really advance in this game, because it isn't the longest game in the world, but at the same time, they make it difficult enough that these levels aren't 10 minutes and you're done. You know, you're 20, 25, 30 minutes before, you know, you're moving on to the next level, the next area. So when you die and you lose it all, it can get really frustrating.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
Dude, it is frustrating. And you only have the ability to heal once per map. And it's not full health. You only have 20 health. So you have to be very wary of where you are standing, because if you have turrets around you, the robots won't target you. But if you're kind of all alone or isolate yourself a little bit, then you're going to get targeted and destroyed pretty quick.
Yeah, you know, this game is so unforgiving in that sense. But again, I think we both had a lot of fun playing this at the same time. And again, it's not overly complicated. We're not dealing with, 20 different types of sentry turrets. You know, we have our main ones, and you learn what works for what and how to set it up. It really, the whole idea behind this game is to actually just kind of figure out the strategy you want to use when you're setting up your turrets, and then you kind of learn how the robots and the people that are attacking you kind of change their strategies as the map goes on. So for me, it's kind of like that, that aspect of the game you don't necessarily see right from the get-go. That is what's actually keeping me in it. Because let me tell you, it's difficult enough that other games I would have just dropped and walked away at this point. But there's a challenging aspect of it that really makes me want to come back in and, defeat those robots and make sure that in 9 days I got a safe place for my family to land. And that's kind of where I'm at with this one, man. I'm having a good time, but man, it's been really difficult too.
I'm right there with you, dude.
No.
All right, Corey. So like you said, dude, we've had a pretty good time with this game.
Yeah.
So what are you going to score Artificial Extinction?
Well, for a game that I've definitely never been really exposed to this type of gameplay, this first-person, tower sentry style game, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the graphics were good. The gameplay is pretty solid, other than a few things with the gun mechanics. But other than that, I had a lot of fun blowing up robots. I'm going to give this one 7.5 out of 10.
Oh, nice, dude. I'm pretty close to you. I had a good time with the game. There is some pretty funny parts in between the missions when you're talking to your find out about how humanity kind of fell apart. So all in all, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna have to give it a 7, man.
Right on.
they've patched the exploit.
Artificial Extinction is a first-person turret defense game that is challenging and fun, but the environments and the enemy variety was lacking a little bit.
The safe place on the planet. Day 1 complete. 8 more days to go. Ready?
Nate, every now and then, you just get faced with a game that is just unachievable sometimes, and it's more or less to do the fact that sometimes you're just not that good at gaming. And now I'm talking about Neo 2. Dude, I can't. I've tried. I played Neo 1, and I actually enjoyed myself. I was able to get...
I remember.
Right? I think actually you and I reviewed this. So, we were able to play this game, but jumping into Neo 2, dude, I am right at the beginning of this game, and I cannot get past where I'm stuck at. Like, I'm not very far. Honestly, I'm probably maybe 5 minutes into the game, and I'm just stuck. And I've been here for hours now at this point. And to me, a game like Neo 2 is punishing, it is crushing, and I just get so frustrated and irritated, I can't do it. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, I totally know what you mean. Like, I'm not super familiar with that kind of Dark Souls formula, Sekiro. I do enjoy the games, for sure. I've played I've spent a decent amount of time playing those style of games. But man, Neo 2, I tell you, it just, right out the gate, is punishing. I highly recommend you do the tutorials, because if you don't, you're going to be completely lost. I'm sorry. This game isn't really built on parrying, which is a lot of, Dark Souls sorry, I can't speak. Apparently, Dark Souls formula has been a lot about parrying and timing that way. Whereas in this game, it's mostly about dodging and trying to drain out their ki or their stamina.
Yeah. The problem with it, as you're draining out their stamina, you're losing your stamina too. So there's kind of that give and take of back and forth. The minute you lose your stamina, you kind of almost come to like a grinding halt. And it's, again, when you're not that kind of the Dark Souls, or even now in this case a Neo player, a hardcore player, I think this is geared towards gamers that love that difficulty spike, and it's really, really there for those people. Someone who's kind of more looking for like a chill time to kind of hang out and kind of bust. Honestly, if you played Star Wars, that's where I was heading, right? Like Jedi Fallen Order, that one had a difficulty spike, but you're able, if you had to, sometimes tone it down, then you can get past the boss, and you come back and you can grind it out and this, that, and the other. Where with Neo, I don't feel the more you grind, honestly, just the more I got frustrated trying to get into the game. I did appreciate every time I beat something, though, it did drop more loot, so I am able to level up. At the same time, man, I didn't make it anywhere to level up.
Ah, man, I know. And the thing is, they kind of advertise this whole co-op mode.
Yeah.
But it's not a full-fledged co-op mode. It's kind of this half-baked thing. Actually, it's a lot like the original Dark Souls. You have to gather this material.
Yep.
And then it costs a certain material to summon a friend, but that's the only way you can do it. And I don't know, man. I just, with the difficulty in this game and not be able to switch it, maybe just make it full co-op. Why not? I would have way rather that. Oh yeah. Maybe we could have struggled together and gotten at least a little bit further.
Exactly.
It was too punishing. I got to a point where I finally, you kill so many guys, you get close to the end, and then and then it's like two little mini bosses, or not even really mini bosses, but they feel like it.
I've never played anything like it, man.
Me neither, honestly. I've played The Surge, I've played Dark Souls, I've played and seen Bloodborne, and I'm telling you, I think this game tops them all. It's got to be the hardest one I've played.
It is just at a whole other level. I think the game, it looks cool. I think the monster creation and the ideas behind it are cool.
Character creation is sweet.
I did man, I love my character, and that's what I want to see is my character expand, but I can't because I am stuck. I am literally stuck where I have to beat this monster, and I get his health 3/4 of the way down, and he hits me twice, and I'm dead. And I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. 2-3 times at the most I get hit with this guy and I'm gone. I'm like, I can't do it, man. I just can't do it, and it irritates the crap out of me.
I know, me too, man. Because I was looking for it, and especially after when you first start playing, you're like, all right, this is really cool.
Yeah,
and
I know.
You just get to that dead stop, and
Yeah.
it's just too frustrating. So, unfortunately, this isn't a review from us. This is more like a warning and discussion.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not typically our usual game reviews. It's because we're not able to play this game because it is so hard. I've never experienced anything like it.
I know, I'm ashamed, but at the same time, we review a lot of games. We are busy, so
Yeah.
spend maybe 100 hours.
I'm not getting anywhere. I'm already hours deep, and I'm still at the very beginning of the game, man. There's just a point where sometimes you gotta just put your hands up and go, I can't. You know, you wave the white flag. So it's a warning, more or less, to everybody else. If you like the Dark Souls genre, then I think you're gonna be okay into this stuff. But when you're not a Dark Souls fan like myself, and I just don't want to get punished, like literally every 2 minutes, I can't do it. Unfortunately, I gotta give it props for what they're doing here. I do appreciate where they've taken the game and the ideas behind it, but I'm just unable to play the game at the end of the day.
Yeah, man, me too. All right, Scott, Doom's here, and we're slaying demons more than ever.
Rip and tear.
Entering main laboratory.
So we're back with a big title, Doom Eternal, and I'm here with the Doom guy himself. We're ripping and tearing through this one, but Nate, what's your first impressions?
All right, man, so we're going to talk about the campaign with this review, because the battle mode, it's pretty cool, but the game, we all know, is solely focused, or mostly focused on the campaign. So the campaign, man, is amazing. I am completely hooked from the start to the end. It was fantastic, man.
Yeah, my first impressions were a little rocky, where I was a little concerned, just because the way it looks is a little updated, and I knew they were kind of taking a cartoony kind of approach to the violence in this game. I guess it was kind of always there, though, so I really wasn't disappointed. A couple hours into it, I realized this is what I wanted. This is the Doom I was looking for, and I'm not disappointed. So, getting into that graphics, though, did you notice any difference between this one and the old one? It's
Yes and no. They definitely added the gore factor, so when you're shooting and slaying all these demons, there's a lot of, violent look to it. Lots of gore. And that, in my opinion, did make it look better. And I don't know, like you were saying, dude, they basically kind of went all sense of realism kind of thrown out the window. Like if you played Doom 2016 to upgrade your armor, you went and found these old suits of armor and took out a chip. Well, in this game, it's literally like a holograph or like a spirit holding a token
yeah.
for you just to grab. And then like the secrets, they're a big yellow question mark, and then you pick up like a disc or a soundtrack and stuff. So they kind of just took the realism out and just threw it out the window. So like you, at first I was a little bit, honestly, only for the first hour, I was like, I don't know how I feel. But then afterwards, my goodness, once you're into the routine and the rhythm of just literally killing probably 200 demons at a time, it's unreal.
Yeah, it took no time to get that achievement for 666 demons. That was almost, I think, the first level even. And
yeah, seriously, man.
I think my problems with it were mostly just the location. They've kind of changed things up a bit by putting it on Earth, by showing you some more earthly kind of constructs instead of the Mars-based kind of thing we're used to. And that was kind of a little soft for me. I didn't enjoy that at the beginning. But then when you do get thrown into other kind of environments where they look different, you get into the Sentinel world and all the different locations there, and then I had a real appreciation for the differences of the architecture. The varied hell was getting a little bit too red and just bloody, like it was too much. So in hindsight now, I really did enjoy that, but when I first started the game, I was a little bit nervous about the direction of it.
I agree, man. Earth at first, like when you kind of there's a few missions on Earth, and by the second or the third one, you're kind of like, I kind of want to be on Mars or something. But you do later on in the game revisit it, and again, it didn't feel the same. By the time I was back at Earth, it felt this. They made it different enough. So,
Yeah,
I don't know. Basically, a couple missions are a little bit. You're like, yeah, but then I don't know. They're, like you said, the Sentinel world and all these different maps that they've created, man, are fantastic, and the lore alongside.
Oh yeah. So I was a little worried that we weren't gonna be able to get a good story, or they were gonna find some cheesy way of kind of shoehorning in a bunch of information and whatever. But this game and how it relates to Doom 2016 and all the timeline of the DoomGuy, it's really amazing how they fit it in, and it works well. You read it in the form of lore collectibles. But I'm okay with that. I'd much rather have that instead of a character that just talks to me or tells me what I did. You know, it's better storytelling, in my opinion.
It was a perfect, in my opinion too, it was a perfect balance of, because the cutscenes that they do have in the game, they're not too many, but they're entertaining when they happen. And they're needed. Like, I felt a little more fleshed out, you know, at the very beginning of the game, with your first encounter with the priest. You know, and then just all the different things that you get to read up on. It really just, man, it blew my mind. Honestly, for a first-person shooter and for being Doom, it is probably one of the most deep stories and best stories I've played in years.
I thought it was just going to be a case of, you know, demons bad, humans good, kill demons. Like, I thought that was the storyline of Doom, but then you get across 3 games and there's a lot of question marks. All those sentinels that we found through the gates in the last game. Now it all makes sense why everybody's all scattered, why there's different factions, who the cultists are. They put a lot of story into the game, but they found a way of telling it without being really intrusive, and I like that. That's a big plus for me. Audio-wise, we have to mention the audio. A bit of a different take on the metal side of the soundtrack. So interesting. But what did you think about that?
Oh, dude, I loved it through and through, man. I always start the game on ultra violence, which is just the second hardest difficulty next to, you know, nightmare, which is insane mode.
Yeah.
But I always start on that. So I often, you know, you die quite frequently in this game until you figure out the method to the madness. But in between the load screens, just the way they did the music, I just totally felt inside the game the entire time.
Yeah. I think they kind of decreased a little bit of the intensity in favor of a more electronic sound, but that electronic sound wasn't lost on me. One of the concerns when we get a big title like this, a big shooter title specifically, is that the game's going to be short, or a lot of people are concerned that it's going to be short. But this one, I think, has enough in it that it will keep you kind of pedaling around in the levels, the exploration, just to name a few things.
Yeah, man. Honestly, the way the map design is, it's kind of like your classic Doom. You know, you get to an area, you have to kill all the demons, and then sometimes do a little puzzle platforming. But in addition to that, man, they have so many secrets and little hidden areas for you to find and discover. It's just chock filled. And some of these levels, dude, some of them took me like 2 hours, man. 2 hours to beat one of the missions. That is incredible. And you know, to keep you captivated for that long.
Yeah, no, the mission length and the pacing is all perfect, and you have enough to find in the levels that I was probably taking triple the time I should have, just because I enjoy grinding for those achievements. You know, I like finding all the collectibles in a game that I really enjoy. And these ones actually have functionality too. You can get weapon items and armor pieces, like you mentioned earlier. The ghosts holding the tablet for you. You collect those, and it gives you something to do. You can upgrade your power. But there's also that hub world where all of these things can be unlocked, and I think that's a really cool way of doing it.
Yeah, I thought that was a very interesting take. Having a hub world in a Doom game, I was kind of shocked, but without whatever, I'm gonna spoil it. It's your own. The hub world is your ship. It's the fortress. So as you collect all these things, you actually unlock different skins, actually, or even another weapon, or even more tokens. So it's pretty cool, man. There's a whole world or level to explore within it. For all that, people who really like the lore, you even have your own little bedroom, which I thought was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, and it reminded me of things they've done similarly in the past. Wolfenstein 2 is one that stands out. They do a really good job of that hub. Seeing it again in Doom, I was kind of a little worried, but it has its place, and I think they filled it up really nicely. But I think we've just about gotten to all we can without getting into the multiplayer. Again, we're going to revisit this at a later time. We're hoping for some updates and to see that get fleshed out. But as far as this campaign is going, Nate, what do you want to score this one?
Well, dude, I have been waiting for this since the original, not the original, but we're talking 2016. I've been always looking forward to the next game, and this game has got me, dude. The campaign is awesome. It is fun. The guns are next to none. You feel like the ultimate Doom Slayer. So I'm going to have to give the campaign 10 out of 10, man. I actually was blown away by this game.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to say something about 10 out of 10. But, well, you are the Doom guy, but I have to back you up on that one. I'm not going to go full 10 just because there's a little bit of some weirdness at the start that's going to throw some people off the trail. But yeah. Having played all these games, this one definitely fits in the lineup. I have to give this one a 9.5. Totally happy with it.
Nice. Doom Eternal has found its style of game and molds you into a masterful demon slayer. Incredible audio complementing the very dark worlds you visit. Being DoomGuy has never felt better.
Opening the portal now.
You were never one of us. You were nothing but a usurper, a false idol. My eyes have been opened. Let me help you to see, Slayer.
All right, Nate, you ready for year 5?
Heck yes.
Nate, you and I jumped into year 5 for Rainbow Six Siege. We're talking about the new ops that it came. What do you think of these ones coming from NASA?
Alright, man, so Yana and Oryx are pretty cool. Oryx brings... We'll start with him, alright? So the Defender, he has 2 primary weapons. He has the Spaz 12, which is pretty cool, because the only other operator that I can remember that has it is Valkyrie. So it's kind of nice seeing another Defender with it.
Sure.
He also has the MP5, which... It's a pretty stable gun. Nothing too great, though. It's pretty low damage, and they've, over the years have nerfed it and nerfed it and nerfed it. And now it doesn't even have the ACOG scope.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of another thing with the year 5 updates. So, anyways, Oryx is pretty cool, though. He smashes through walls. Yeah. That's what his ability is. But it takes 10 health in doing so.
Yeah. That's kind of like that risk-reward thing, right? Do you want to really do this if you can breach it? Because Oryx, to me, isn't my style. Because he is an aggressive defensive player. So if you're not that kind of go out there and roam, if you're not a roamer, I don't really see Oryx being your playstyle. I'm kind of more of the hunker back, wait for them to come to me. You have to come to me. So if I can find and line up the right sites, maneuver around when I need to, then I'm okay. But to play as Oryx, he's really, really aggressive, and it's just not my style.
Yeah, Well, I'd say his biggest thing, or two of his biggest things, is that he can jump through hatches. No other operator can actually jump, so that's pretty cool that he can do that. I mean, Amaru on the attacking side, I guess, is the closest thing, but
Sure, with their zip line, right?
Pretty great to be able to have a defender that can go from one floor to the next that quick.
You can traverse and then it allows you to traverse the area and flank a lot easier, being able to jump through a hatch, providing the hatch has been knocked out.
Yeah.
You can also shoot the hatch and then jump up. So again, it's that risk reward, right? Because you're opening yourself up to the ability that as you climb up through the hatch, if one of the attackers are there, man, you're kind of a sitting duck.
Yeah, that's the thing. With his move, you're very vulnerable. I've tried to go for Hail Mary, but it usually doesn't work. I mean, you know, Rainbow Six, you die in a few bullets, so...
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
It's pretty situational, but his charge ability, probably the coolest thing about him is that he's the counter for shields.
Yeah.
He's the perfect counter because he can completely stun them and immobilize shield users for a long period of time, and that's basically what he's really built for. Oryx is a good character, but like you, he's not completely my style. He's pretty fun to mess around with.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let's move on to Yana. What do you think about her?
Okay, so her ability is very unique. In a sense, it's almost like using the drone, because you send out a holographic image of yourself, which allows you to traverse the surrounding area like your character, but without the ability to shoot anything. So
yeah, so it's pretty cool. You can't shoot, you can't melee, but you can jump through windows. So
exactly,
she is 100% a team player. Honestly, using her playing solos without a mic or without anyone else who has a mic, it really isn't that useful. You can't ping while you're using her.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, you really need to just be on the headset being like, okay, I got shot from here, so that your buddies can, you know, counter that.
Exactly, because the minute your holographic image gets shot, it disappears. You'll vanish, right? You'll kind of get this glitch and then bring you back to wherever you are located as her. And that's the other thing you got to keep an eye out for, is where you plant yourself.
Yeah.
You are then really vulnerable to anybody roaming, so you got to watch for those roamers. So pick a safe spot, launch your little holographic image, and then go out. We were in one situation which worked out awesome, because we were up on the roof and I jumped in as her, as a holographic image, through the window, got shot. But as I'm getting shot at, I'm calling out where the person was, and then that allowed our teammates to go in and actually pick him off without a problem. They didn't even see him coming because they're too busy distracted by myself as the holographic image getting shot out, because you look like the operator. So when you see that coming in, you're like, crap, shoot first, questions later, but then you're gone. But now you're notified, allowing your team to kind of get the advantage of where they're at.
Yeah, and another thing to note too is that it's on a timer, so you have an infinite amount of these. You can just, it gets shot, it just refreshes, and it just keeps going and going. So you basically have an infinite amount of intel with this character around.
Yeah, it's not like using two drones, and once those drones are dead and shot, that's it. That's the end of them, right? So you're able to utilize this a lot more and a lot more often.
Yeah, it's she's a pretty cool character. And, you know, to go along with it, she has two great assault rifles. She has the G36C, which is actually one of my preferred rifles in the game.
Yeah, me too.
Ooh, you know, Ash.
Yeah.
And then she has a hard-hitting pistol. So she's a good operator, I'd say.
Cool. But all in all, Nate, what did you think of year 5 so far starting off?
So it's a good start, man. I'd say it's a really strong start. They've, you know, the announcements that they made earlier in the year about some of the tweaking that they're going to do, it all sounds really good. And to start with these new characters, NASA, awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm really impressed too. I like the new operators. Again, Oryx, not really my style.
Yeah.
So I'm probably not going to use him as much, but between the other operator and the new map changes, I'm really digging year 5. I think it's worthwhile checking out if you haven't already. Scott, we're in outer space on this one, facing the Eclipse. Scott, you and I jumped into Eclipse Edge of Light over on the Oculus VR headset. What'd you think of this walking simulator, I'd almost say?
Yeah, I would say it's a walking simulator, but it's kind of a sci-fi story told through a first-person perspective. It's I always enjoy jumping into the Oculus and checking out any sort of adventure that comes my way, and this was no different. It was definitely a sci-fi adventure, and it was pretty long.
It was a lot longer than I anticipated. Actually, I kind of felt it was a lot longer than it needed to be, in a sense, right? Like, it was just basically the premise of the story of you are stranded on this planet trying to solve what's going on and why there's this other power there, in a sense, and what's kind of happened. I don't want to give away why this power is and what it is, but that was just, man, basically that is the story, though, of what this power and this guy is all about, and that's kind of it, right? But it took over hours to get to that point, though, within the story to finally feel like, okay, the game is over. But at the same time, I don't say I thought it was way too long.
Yeah, the pacing of it is kind of not really fast enough for something more modern now.
Yeah,
we've kind of seen these VR games that are much faster than that, and
sure,
the way it kind of tells the story is through these little, similar to Metroid, kind of, think of Metroid Prime. There's like these statues around, and you have to scan everything to get the backstory on what happened, and I really enjoy that aspect of it, and it gives you a device to and a reason to explore. I thought that was cool.
Sure.
But it's just because it's told through different statues, it becomes so slow, and I feel like they kind of told the same story over and over. They really delivered it in, and it was instead of an implicit kind of thing. So
sure. It was all about the prophet, and it was another line about the prophet, and then another situation with another story about the prophet and what the prophet's going on, and what's his power, and his rise and why he's right. I'm like, it was just, man, it really kind of ventured off a little too long. But the overall mechanics of the game I thought were decent. I did get a little motion sickness, and you and I were talking about this off camera, that there was a level there that you stand and you're in the boat. And I didn't mind that level. You were experiencing some motion sickness within it. I found it really relaxing, actually, to be in that moment. It was weird because you got the music. I thought the music was really, really good. And you got this somber little feeling as you're floating through. And most times on some of the boats, I get that motion sickness that you feel. But I was probably playing about a good half hour, 45 minutes before I even made it to that level. And then when I got there, I thought, ooh, this is where Scott said he wasn't feeling so well. And I finished that level right off the hop. I went right through the entire thing without feeling sickness whatsoever. But I also talked with Jonathan, and he mentioned about putting on a visor, and putting that visor on really made a huge difference, because that way you're not seeing the entire screen and you're getting motion sickness that way. It kind of narrows your vision down, and I was able to work with that and not feel that sickness that is often found when playing a VR title.
Yeah, I'm normally pretty good at that kind of thing, but this one, it was the fact that the water ripples they looked really good, but then the boat was so stationary, I think, that it just kind of, any of those railway kind of sections, I just I have a hard time with. I don't like that control being taken out of my thumbstick, I guess.
Sure,
But I also had a hard time because when in that river section, I faced a pretty game-stopping bug, which was a section where you need one of the NPCs to break through something, and it just wouldn't happen. I did eventually get it to happen the third time I sat down there, and then I was relieved because I really did enjoy the action sequences, and I wanted to get to the next one and the next kind of puzzle and explore some of the cooler locations, because they have such a way of making it emotional. I definitely understood the river thing, because the music accompanies you in any of these locations, and it's always so just packed with emotion. Even the first time I found those animals was a strange experience. Like, I've never just because it was something else moving around in VR, and I think that they really captured something there. it just kind of trailed off. That was in the first section, so it
Right.
kind of trailed off as the game went on. I just kind of wanted it to go to a better scenario, and it does deliver on some pretty cool visuals and new locations as it tells the story.
Yeah, so you were mentioning about the river and the animals that are in that one particular puzzle. And in fact, so the game feels like it's got this eerie little feeling, this tension behind it, right? But it's peaceful, it's calming, nothing kind of jumps out at you typically. But as I'm facing this one puzzle in the river, and you throw this sphere that you carry with you throughout the story, and it hits this little dome, and from there, it draws in these animals. Well, when I did that, I didn't see the animal to start with, and he came barreling in beside me. And when you don't see that, man, it scared the crap out of me. I actually jumped. So it was the only jump scare in the whole thing, but it wasn't even intentional because I just wasn't paying attention. Where my focus was over on this little dome area where you can throw the sphere, which then unlocks different mechanics within the game, right? And then the whole time when you have the sphere, you're supposed to throw it at these vases or these cubes, and they give you like this dust that allows you to then power feed into these like little mini
Is that what that
mean?
was? Because you had to interact with some totems, but
exactly.
I kind of forgot what I was breaking all the vases for.
That was supposed to be it. It was supposed to be like this dust was being collected by the sphere, and then that would power up these little totems, which would open up a door or some kind of puzzle mechanic. But at the same time, the puzzles weren't really challenging puzzles. They were just there. They felt like to be more of a game mechanic.
Yeah, just to kind of give you something to jump through.
Yeah.
That's why I like your description of it as a walking simulator, because it didn't really present you with a definite wall ever.
No, not really. I was able to continually progress through the game. There was one where you had to kind of align a couple circles, like almost like a world shape kind of thing. You know like
a
spot I'm
planetarium or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're lining up these things, and then with the shadow of the light and stuff. But that was the only real, I would say, somewhat complicated puzzle versus other puzzle challenging games. Where this one really is that they're there to tell you a story, and though it went on a little longer than what I think it should have been, I think it was, by the time the game wraps up, you got the sense of, holy crap, that was cool. Like, the ending, for me, was probably one of the best parts of the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times when you're playing a game, a lot of people, don't finish games. And sometimes we don't, to be honest. And, but sometimes when you get to the end, you want that climax to kind of matter, right? And endings can either make or break a game. And this one actually kind of boosted up the game a little bit because of the ending. So that part really made a difference. It was nice to see the ending, and the prophet himself, like that character was actually pretty cool character design. I thought that was cool. All right, Scott, so the Eclipse Edge of Light, what are you scoring this walking sim sci-fi adventure?
Well, it had the really good quality production behind it. So it had the good audio that really made an emotional connection.
Sure.
And I enjoyed exploring the world and learning more of the story. It was really good, but just a little too long, and I don't like those river sections. So I have to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. It was a pretty solid entry.
That's not bad. I'm a little bit lower than when you're scoring this one. I felt it was kind of really dragged on, and I felt there was a lot of walking versus actually doing or accomplishing anything. So I'm there. Yeah, I'm there with a 6.5.
Eclipse is a quality walking simulator style game with a lot of good production value. Unfortunately, it just drags on a little too long. Well, Corey, we're here to talk about Call of Duty's Modern Warfare Warzone.
Yes.
This kind of came and took us by surprise, but I believe it was you that reported on some rumors that were circulating before it came out.
Yeah, so there were some early leaks and some discoveries found that, there was this Warzone game mode coming to Call of Duty, and it was rumored. Nobody knew exactly what it was going to be, if it was, going to be a battle royale, or if it was going to be some other sort of game mode, right? Because we had the blackout in the last Call of Duty game, and it was okay, but it just didn't really catch the traction I think they were hoping for. So, they get a second chance here with Warzone, and let me tell you, Scott, it's been a blast playing this. They've made some steep improvements from, I think, what they've learned, the mistakes they've made from Blackout, and they've just kind of moved in a new direction with Warzone, and you can tell they've definitely taken some aspects from the more popular Battle Royale games out there and implement them in their game, and I think that's something we've been saying since the beginning is, if you want to make a good game, then take elements from good games and make a good game. And yeah. I think they've done a pretty good job here. What do you think?
Oh, well, they've definitely learned from the competition, and I like they've simplified some things and kind of expanded on others. There's a little tweaks to this one that makes it different than every other Battle Royale, and the Gulag has got to be the biggest standout of that.
It's the 1v1, winner takes all, you get back in. So when you die in Warzone, you actually get a second chance to come back in, and actually one of a couple second chances. We'll get to that, but this first one, the Gulag, is this 1v1 style they've kind of adopted from their Gunfight, which is a new game mode in Modern Warfare, the actual full game release, and it's this kind of 2v2 style where you get a preset loadout and you kind of just small arena battle, 3-lane. It's a ton of fun. Well, now they've adapted it and made this 1v1 in this battle royale, and that makes it so unique but so intense and so frustrating.
Yeah, you were talking about this gunplay mode beforehand, and luckily you got some experience in that. I think it's cool that they take something that's already existing in the multiplayer and work it into the Battle Royale. Having that second chance to come back really kind of inspires you when you do get stuffed early.
I know.
It's because unwarranted,
With 150 people on a map, it's busy quick. It feels like Call of Duty, where Blackout didn't feel like Call of Duty. The pace of play was much slower, much like a PUBG. But in a PUBG style game, there's aspects to that game that allow that slower gameplay to make that game, feel a little more complete. Blackout just felt like you were running around. The map felt empty. You would get in certain things, certain engagements, but other than that, it felt like you were doing a lot more traveling. This game has a huge map, but we have 150 players, and let me tell you, I feel like there's someone everywhere I go, no matter what place I'm checking out, what place I'm looting. Everything about this is, it just feels so busy all the time.
Yeah, it is chaotic, and I can only imagine how it's going to get with new events and updates, and as they really fill out the games, because sometimes you don't quite get 150 people in a match, and that kind of bugs me. But then at the same token, 30 seconds into the game, you still have pretty much 2 full Apex games going on in your map. And that's just an obscene amount of people. I really like how they've simplified some of the things like the armor system and the health. You don't have to worry about health. You just have armor plates. I think that and the inventory system being really simplified keeps your focus in the game. There's no breaking that action or that, other than to use the map. There's no taking that off your screen. So it's really intense and lends itself to these crazy engagements. Some of the levels when you get into the cities, I kind of thought it was disappointing at first that some of the levels are kind of inaccessible. In certain buildings, like they're more simplified than they appear on the outside.
More or less, they look like giant apartment buildings, and the main floor, there's rooms you can go through, but then the rest of the building is just 2 stairwells on each end that go all the way up. There are items and loot on the way up, and then roof access at the top. And at first I was like, man, it'd be really nice to be able to explore these buildings in this environment a little bit more. But once you get into the late game, in this one, because you are playing a trio style to start, if you do squad up trios, what I found is when you get late game, there aren't as many places to hide, and I like that because it really makes the game push forward and we get to that end game. With 150 people, you're expecting to have a bit longer of a game session if you do make it to the end, and for some reason, this one actually still times out fairly well with the other battle royales that are out there. You're still in that 25 30-minute, just because there is a few more players, so it is going to last longer. But what I found is I really did, feel like even if you made it to the end, you could do multiple games in one sitting. Like, it's still one of those kind of quick in and out type games where you're not really, sinking a ton of time in if you just want to, jump in, play a quick one, and jump back out. In-game missions in the middle of a PvP style game mode is awesome, because it's a great way to collect cash if you don't want to get in engagements with other people, because you do find cash on the map and in the environment when you're looting. But sometimes the fastest way to get cash is either to take it from somebody else or complete these contracts or missions. And I mean, sometimes the contracts are to actually go get somebody, but other times it's, recon. You're going to go to a couple different points. You're either opening chests, or maybe you're going to go just take a point and you sit there and take it for 30 seconds. You get $1,000, $2,000, and it's pretty cool. And being able to have these kind of buy area crates or, shopping carts on the map is actually how they show it. Is really cool because they are everywhere. And like you said, a death card forces the play, where at least with these shopping carts, there's enough of them around that you can go to all these kind of merchant spots and, pay to bring your teammate back. Plus, there's a lot of other handy things you can purchase in there, whether it be armor, different kill streaks, like precision airstrikes. Let me tell you, with 150 people on the map, a well-placed precision airstrike is devastating.
When an A10 Warthog comes ripping through the map and you hear the brap of death, that's the most beautiful sound I've heard in a video game. And,
I know
awesome.
It's so good. They implement those, team deathmatch COD things that we know, these kill streaks that we know, and it works so well in this battle royale. I didn't even think it would work as well as it did. After Blackout, my whole thought of Call of Duty battle royale was kind of out the window. I thought, they gave it their best shot, but, there's, with Fortnite, PUBG, Apex then coming out at the time, it was there was too much for them to compete with the game they put out. This one here, I'm telling you, man, this one's taking me away from the other battle royales. It's taking me away from Fortnite. It's taking me away from Apex. This one's new. It's fun. And I think it can only get better, really.
Definitely.
Well, Nate, there's another episode from home. Now, each and every week, you guys hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca. Where there, you submit your clip to feature at the end of our show. And this week, this is a pretty cool one. Who do we got, Nate?
Oh, man. This week, we got Shadow295 with, I can't even say it. You just gotta watch it. It's Golden Gun mode, Rainbow Six Siege. It's hilarious.
All right, let's check it out. Thanks so much for sticking around, and we'll see you next week inside the game.
Prepping needles. Deploying my trump card.
Op 4, last operator standing. Op 4 eliminated. Mission successful.